Welcome everybody. I am so excited. I am here with Paula Ferraro in her exquisite home in Malibu. And Paula is an alchemist, a mother, an artist, a writer, a musician. Did I miss anything?
I don't know. I'm still figuring it out.
I have to tell really quickly how I came into each other's awareness. So Paula has a company called Sense of Awe, and I saw her products in Malibu when David and I were just hanging out on the weekend, and I was really drawn to them. The logo is like just powerful, and I was just really drawn to them. And I spoke a little bit to the person who owned the store, that was your store, I found out.
Yeah.
And they really stuck in my mind, but I didn't buy them that day because, we're on a budget, and I was like, okay. And so then I had the synchronous meeting with Brendan Arm, and I did a podcast with him. We went to high school together. I hadn't seen him in 20 years, and I have a colleague at the office where I practice, and she had a picture on Instagram with Brendan, and I was like, how do you know this guy? I went to high school with him. She's like, he owns Lotus East West Medical Center. I rent office space there and also have my practice there. We're having an event, you need to come. So I go to the event, I see Brendan. It was like not a day had passed. He has a fascinating story. And I was like, you gotta be on the podcast. So we shoot the podcast 3 weeks ago. Everything's done, I'm saying goodbye, and I look at the products that they sell there. And what do I see? But I see Sense of Awe. And I see like dark blue, dark purple packaging.
It's Miron.
What is that?
It's violet glass.
Okay, I see that, and I'm like, I wanted this so bad. I said, he's like, oh yeah, Paul. I said, who makes this? I want to meet this person who makes these products. I have to know who that is. He's like, that's Paula. Paula's wonderful. Paula's fascinating. I'll set you guys up. Hooked us up via email, and that was like 2 weeks ago. We had a couple of exchanges. We had like an amazing 45-minute conversation, and I'm here today to talk to you. It's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So I love that.
It's so nice to meet you.
I know. So nice to meet you. So you tell us, let's start out, how have you become an alchemist?
How do you become an alchemist?
What is an alchemist? Maybe we should start with that. We should define it.
It's somewhat challenging to define, but to me, I've been looking at what are my talents, what am I cultivating, what is the best use of my time and energy. And so I've been labeled an alchemist by others. Oh. But when I first came across the term alchemist, it kind of resonated with me when I was much younger. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that's me in a certain sense, like I resonated with it somehow. And I never really knew exactly what I was doing with music. I just knew that I was healing my heart. And I've come to understand that was an inner form of alchemy, refining trauma, refining heavy emotions that were weighing me down into this golden light, this material that I found in my voice, my heart and my voice, synchronizing and learning how to do that. And finding that way of extracting something out of something that you wouldn't want to carry into something that you would. So that is the ancient practice of alchemy, is to take basically base metals and refine it into gold. But it can be applied in a lot of different areas. It's finding different materials and weaving it together in a form that becomes usable, that becomes valuable. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my skill sets, is doing that. And I've done that through music, and I've done that now through skincare, and I do that with food.
And what a metaphor, right for life, because we all have things that are challenging or that we're not sure. We may label them maybe it's not, maybe negative or something painful, but it's not.
It's a common thread throughout humanity to find now, with the awareness that we have in this age of information. We've never had this much information before. So mm-hmm. It's a really interesting time to see, what are we going to do with this? Mm-hmm. Now that we understand what it means to be a human on the planet. And it isn't a pretty picture. It's not always easy to see. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's very devastating. I have my daughter, she's 5.5, and sometimes she sees things that, to me, I learned long ago, and maybe they broke my heart, but I don't remember that. And it breaks her heart, some of those truths. And there's so much beauty in what we are capable of rising above and transitioning through and finding ways to integrate what's valuable, what's truly valuable about being human, about being compassionate and really holding a torch of love and peace in our hearts, and finding that way to be connected and be aware and to be integrated with nature and to have respect for everything we use and all of those things about being human. But to me, I feel like all of humanity could use the skill set of alchemy in a sense, because there is a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste, there's a lot of heavy energies, there's a lot of trauma. We all have been universally traumatized in some way. And I think people are looking for a space to really get well, find a practice that really helps them to tune in to their higher purpose and their divine light, but also something that's not that hasn't been caged by a mindset that's profited off of it. Something that still remains free and accessible. And that's really where I focus my work, is to help give skills and empower people to take their own health into their own hands. Rather than outsourcing their intuition, find a way to inspire and teach people to really take hold of their life and be passionate about what they can offer to all of humanity, because we really are a superorganism. And this disconnected feeling that many of us have has been engineered largely. It's been an engineered epidemic.
Yeah, well,
so
we keep getting messages that the answer's outside when it's not. The answer's always inside. And we keep getting told we need something else to make things better, and that just continues to perpetuate this disconnection.
That's a marketing perspective. It's a profit margin perspective to tell someone this is what you need, and you need this to make you better. Like for me, I would never say that about any of my creations. Like I offer them because I really love luxury. I love to experience really beautiful things. I didn't always have that privilege or luxury my whole life. And so I really enjoy that, but I also really enjoy being held by nature and having natural solutions. And you don't always find that combination out there. You find a lot of luxury with a lot of chemicals, and you find healthy alternatives that are not so luxurious. They're very medicinal, or they're not. The bridging of those two together is what I focus on, to offer something that doesn't, you don't have to sacrifice your luxury if you want to go natural and you want to be healthy and you want a healthy alternative. So to me, I really love that, that dance.
Well, your products definitely make me feel luxurious, but also so grounded. I mean, I use my Queen. What is it? Isn't it an essential oil or a?
It's a blend of essential oils.
Well, what do you call that usually? Is it like a elixir, or is it just?
An elixir would be something that you would take internally, but Queen is like a topical oil. It's like a blend. Yeah.
I just love it. It's like a ritual for me every day. It's like a ritual to put it on, and I know that it's I don't know, it's something I do for myself, but it helps me get in touch with my spirit, and I read what what it symbolizes and what you put into it, and it's I really feel that come through when I smell it and I put it on, and
it's awesome.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
Will you tell me, Sense of Awe came out of your desire to have holistic products. You were pregnant, right? You wanted to have all natural products, and so you were couldn't find what you were looking for on the market, so you just decided to whip them up?
Yeah, I couldn't really find what I was looking for. Well, it started a bit earlier than that. I started a nonprofit with children back in 2005. I had an epiphany. I was traveling and recording my songs all over the planet. I traveled for a decade. And then I had this epiphany that I wish I would have had my creative process as a child. And I had a really good friend who we went on a road trip, and he was so brilliant and so inspiring. And, he asked me some tough questions about what I was doing with my life, and it was great. It felt really, I got really inspired. and I decided to start Music for the Kids. And so I did that, and I started working with at-risk youth at first, and that's just where I was drawn. I was drawn to the children that I felt really needed it, needed a process to transition through really heavy emotional, physical abuse that they were going through. And so I was really just developing this program that would help them access themselves and find their connection to their own light, and really translate that through music so that they could also feel each other and have this lack of judgment with their own voice, and find this resonance with each other. They could make music together, sing together, and it started this whole a different conversation. Because I think in school, what I remember as a child, a lot of comparison and cliques and bullying and things that make you feel really uncomfortable when you're sensitive or you're going through something hard. It's really challenging to find that safe place. So I wanted to create that safe place within them, and also create a dynamic of sacred space within the group, so that they could all find a process together to respect each other and to respect themselves. And that was just, it was incredible. Yeah, I did that. I formed different groups with different nonprofits, and then I worked in the school districts. I did after-school programs, and I started working with Coach Art here in LA, and I worked in hospitals, and it was amazing, so transformative for me, because it really it made everything else in my life just vanish and fall away, and this was like the best use of my time.
That's one of the most beautiful things about helping other people heal, is it's like it heals you. But I always say I love going into session because it's like it is a reprieve from my own stuff, and I get to be so present and witness somebody else's process,
especially with children.
Yeah,
for me, they're looking for something to believe in, and they're looking for a story that really works. And if you're not being shown a story that's really sustainable or inspiring, you're going to outsource that interest, and you might get lost in a system that is largely designed to just take your attention and profit off of it as fast as it can, and hook you through any kind of addictive behavior. So to me, I was really looking for just to inspire and to be inspired, really. And that happened very gracefully and naturally, and it was such a beautiful path. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, and while I was working with these children, I eventually started working with chronically ill and terminally ill children and their siblings, and I saw how overwhelmed their parents were. And also I felt that the children weren't fully being their intuition about their illness wasn't fully being considered, and their intuition about their wellness protocol wasn't necessarily being considered. And they were telling me things like, my doctor says eat whatever I can stomach because I'm doing chemo anyway, it doesn't really matter what I eat.
Wow.
That was really hard for me. And then in Children's Hospital here in LA, there's a McDonald's inside the hospital. So it was very discouraging, to see all of those things. So I just started researching superfoods, and I bought David Wolf's book, the Superfood book, and I gave it to all my students and their parents, and I just started to try to get them inspired on a different way of eating. I would bring organic snacks to every session, and some of the kids hadn't even eaten all day. Wow. And so it was really just grew like that. It grew from my heart, and then I was pregnant, and then I just did furious research. I started researching furiously. All of the ways that I could get in front of any kind of chronic debilitating disease for my child. Wow. Because I was close to this suffering, and it was really interesting because the children really gave me a different perspective on cancer. Some of them said that was the best thing that happened to their family. It woke everybody up to what was truly valuable. And that was really amazing and inspiring to me, that they had that perception and they had that understanding that something that was so somewhat tragic and painful and scary and life-threatening was such a gift, because they were fearless of that transition, and also felt like that their time was really being honored, and they were being celebrated, and they were getting the attention that they wanted from before. So it was really interesting. It opened my eyes to a lot of that. There's more to the story, obviously, but but it brought me into the wellness space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always been healthy. My mother fed me organic sprouted food when I was young, and she did a lot of like organic dehydrating, and when she was pregnant with me, she said she ate the healthiest in her whole life. And I always, when my family was eating out, I would prefer the salad on the menu, even if it was a fast food thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I always tended towards health, and I was a
Mm-hmm.
vegetarian for many, many years when I was traveling. So I always had an interest in it, but it became more of a, I wouldn't say obsession, but just like intense passion
Mm-hmm.
to find out what is it, about this epidemic that I can get in front of, and what are the
Mm-hmm.
things that are within reach that I can find as solutions for my own child, so that I don't have to be in this type of distress, or it's almost like a savings account or something. You start to save for your child, you start to build up, and I did that. I just did a lot of research, thinking like I don't want to be thrown off by all of this. I want to be able to really have an answer for my own child, and it felt like I needed to be responsible in that way.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really started from there, and I started making my own belly butter. I found a recipe in David Wolf's book for belly butter, and I just made my own. And I found out, my midwife told me that everything you put on your body, it goes straight through your skin, and you're drinking it, it goes to the placenta. So everything. So I had to look at all any makeup products I had, or any other products that I was using. Anything that was touching my skin was going straight to my baby, and I had never even heard of that.
Yeah.
So it was, I didn't understand that our
responsibility.
skin.
Yeah.
It is. It's just, awareness. So, I didn't really have that awareness growing up. I didn't have that. I wasn't taught that. In fact, now in all of my research, I feel like there is something really missing in our culture, which is like this grandmother's wisdom, this common sense that we used to have of what was really good for us. Spiritually and physically, what was good to eat, what was a good diet. Now there's so much information out there about, there's a lot of fad diets, there's a lot of, conflicting information, and there's a lot of profit on all ends, so it's really challenging when you have the internet and you have all of this that you can research at your fingertips to know what to trust. So that's also something I talk about quite a bit, is refining your intuition and getting into that space of really knowing in your gut, trusting your gut and going with your gut. And that's also like grandmother's wisdom. It's like, that's the most powerful thing. But with the new evidence of the microbiome, it's also the most it's factual. It's like, go with your gut. That's your brain. Spirituality, it's interesting. I think just being and breathing is my concept. It's super simple. It's something really simple. It's something very connected. So maybe the moment when you feel very connected to someone, when you're making love, conceiving a child, or you have these sacred moments where you are, for me, like some of my most spiritual and enlightening moments were with my daughter, just gazing into her eyes and seeing the starlight on the other side.
Wow.
And I feel really connected to the cosmos. I feel really connected to this vast array of light that's constantly streaming through us. And so that's my spirituality is linked with that. It's very musical as well. Somehow bringing the energy in my heart out through my voice is a very spiritual process for me. And it's also like I'm making my own original medicine. I'm tapping into something that is just for me. I can share, but it's also for me, and that's very harmonizing. I mean, the spirit world is so interesting. It's fascinating. It's almost like, watching a star dissolve. Like you never really get quite the glimpse of it.
Yes.
It's in process. And part of being physical and incarnating is that we get to experience that process along with being this animal with these instincts and urges and needs. And balancing the two is such a dance. So that's part of, spirituality, I guess, is the grounding force to, the better parts of what it means to be human, I think.
Beautiful. Can you speak a little bit about some of the things that you do to sort of balance the dance?
Take my shoes off and get barefoot on the earth. I love doing mud baths and just covering myself with the earth. I feel so connected to the planet. And sometimes stargazing. I feel so connected when I see the stars. And to me, just really being with my daughter and being present with her, it's not always easy. And so remembering to be present with her and really choosing to love her unconditionally and not have a big expectation is also a spiritual practice. Because I think, as an animal, there's an animal part of us that we have this expectation of what we're supposed to, be like, or, what manners are, or what good behavior might be, or what tidy means, or what responsibility means. All these things that, we programmed or we adapted, and they, there's some functional flow around them, but there's a spiritual principle that's very free and wanting to be very present and connected, and nothing should come in between that. And it's really sometimes a challenge to remember that as a mom when you're juggling all these different things. So that's a big...
I feel like that's true too for any relationship with a partner, just like letting the person express themselves and trying to steer things so much and put people in a box or the way they're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Practicing that in a relationship is
witnessing.
A struggle.
Witnessing someone and holding space for their transformation is another really big part of what it means, I think, to be spiritual. It's just holding that space and holding that clear reflection. So your ego isn't really manipulating the situation, but it's more of like, I'm here to see you. I'm here to reflect back what I see.
Yeah, that is the definition of a therapist. I think the way that I work, that is literally just create space, unconditionally love the person, and just be a mirror back for them in the witnessing of, their process with no, really no expectations, But isn't it crazy? Like, we have to pay somebody to do that. And we sort of, get trained, and in this day we pay somebody to do that. But I think that we can do that just for each other as friends, as partners, as parents.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think part of that payment is to find someone who's not necessarily, it hasn't been a relationship that's been built upon anything that is meant to sustain a certain social ability. So, there's all of these different intentions that people have when they build social networks and bonds that they have and relationship bonds that they have. And so sometimes in disclosing maybe your inner thoughts or your private world, it might jeopardize that relationship somehow, because maybe they'll tell someone else something that wasn't really for them. And I mean, gossip is really like the bane of our society. And I really, for me, I really try to have a very clear filter of, if I'm ever going into that realm, I really try to just pull myself back and understand we are all connected, we are all one. And if that person's not here, they're not really meant to be spoke of.
I agree.
It's something that in Native culture, it was absolutely intolerable. Like, nobody was talking about anyone else.
Wow.
You dealt with yourself, and you deal with yourself, and then you come together. And if there's someone who needed to be reprimanded, there was another level that you go to. And if somebody was doing something, from what I've heard and from what I've researched, if somebody was doing something that was like, negative and hurting someone, they would just change their name. This person would be Beats' wife until he earned a better name.
Wow.
And then everyone would immediately understand what the behavior is, but there's no reason to talk about it.
Wow. And also there's just a level of transparency. I always feel like gossip, it's a secrecy thing where two people are talking about somebody who's not there. Whereas
it's a positioning thing.
Yeah, whereas that is like, this is what we're calling you now. We see what you're doing. We're calling it out, and everybody in the group is acknowledging it, and
and then you can there's a natural shaming that would happen of just carrying that and be called that maybe, and being exposed, and then hopefully there would be like a gentle way to come back into your higher state of being. And I'm still learning about all of that, but I feel like it's a good way to just deal with yourself and really
absolutely
come back to yourself.
Absolutely. And I think too, that for me really helps me connect with my spirit and really connect with my intuition when I'm just really focused more on sort of what's happening here, connecting with the person next to me, and not spending a lot of time like judging or so-and-so's got this stuff or out there. It's
distracting.
It's really distracting.
It's really
It's just like this weird
distracting.
energy suck or giving away that's like just not.
Yeah, it actually gives your power away. You give your power away
do.
when you get distracted by someone else's drama.
Mm-hmm. You do.
That's why I don't watch TV. I've never had a TV in my adult life.
Incredible. I gotta say, I don't really watch TV either. I really don't. It just doesn't fill me.
There's enough real drama in my life, so I don't
Yeah.
really need to fulfill it in any other way.
Yeah, and I feel like it's gotten more violent, and I don't want to see that stuff.
Yeah, I can't watch any violence. The most I can do is funny. I was watching this new Africa series that Netflix put out with my daughter, and it's so beautiful. I mean, there's parts of Africa I had no idea. There's actually like a butterfly forest. It's so amazing. But
I will watch this.
It's so incredible. But there's a point where there are these little turtles, and they're all rushing for the sea. And they have this, this drama happening. David Attenborough he's my favorite narrator, and he did Planet Earth, the series that the BBC did, and so he's narrating, and then there are these birds, and they're coming down and swooping down and taking the turtles, and my daughter is like, no, and she's so sad, and it's so violent to her. But it's real life, and I'm okay with that violence because it's like, this is nature, and then the positive story of the ones that made it. Mm-hmm. But then I learned only 1 in 1,000 turtles will ever reach maturity, and if they do, they'll live 80 years. I knew they lived 80 years. I just didn't know that it was 1 in 1,000.
Wow, that's such a small percentage.
It is a small percentage, and before I was working with butterflies, I had no idea that they only had a 5% survival rate in the wild, from caterpillar to butterfly.
Really, I didn't know that either.
5%.
My God, I just like life is so precious, and I think too, right? The rate with humans of miscarriage, I feel like it's not spoken about as much as I think it's happening, and it's like, wow, to wake up in the morning and be like, I am so grateful that I'm here and that I'm alive. It's like it took so much for us to be here, and it takes so much for so many other creatures to like make it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I can't remember the exact number, but just to raise a child, it's several $1 million. I can't remember what number it is, but it's like some crazy number, which I totally agree. It's really expensive to raise a child.
Expensive. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my puppy Lyle for now. We'll see if I can afford anything else.
There's a lot of DIY stuff you can do to cut the costs, and there's a lot of ways to do it.
Yes. All right, my next question for you is, what does it mean to be complete to you?
What does it mean to be complete? That's so interesting. I think to me, to feel complete is to feel really present in my body. Mm-hmm. I feel very complete when I feel like I can be present in my body, that there's nothing I'm like trying to escape or distract myself with, or that I can really feel good, that I'm feeling well, that I'm feeling embodied in a positive way, that my energy is good, and I'm sleeping well, and I have a positive outlook, and things are going well. I mean, that feels complete to me. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
I relate to that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, our final question for today is, how can people find you? How can they connect with you in Sense of Awe?
I have a website. I did have a shop this past year in Cross Creek, but I just closed it.
Okay.
And I just opened in Japan, which is exciting, but I'm not there,
Very
obviously.
exciting.
So I'm here in Malibu, and I'm open to, meeting people through appointment. People can reach me through my website.
Wonderful. Your website is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So beautifully designed. Like, everything that you create is so much beauty. It embodies so much beauty. So senseofawe.com, right?
Senseofawe.com.
Wonderful.
Yes. And I do events. Sometimes you can sign up for my newsletter, and I do events. I send a newsletter about once a month.
Okay.
About upcoming events. I do medicine pouch workshops and
Wonderful.
sorts of different events.
All
Gather
right.
new moon ceremonies with women, where we just do a meditation, and we do a little bit of singing. And
Yeah, oh, I love those. Yeah.
yes.
So fun.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'm at youarecomplete.com. You Are Complete on Instagram. You Are Complete on Facebook. You Are Complete B on Snapchat. And I'm so grateful that you joined us. I'm so grateful to you for inviting me to your beautiful home and your exquisite soul and sharing it and letting me share it on You Are Complete. Everybody have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And always remember that you are complete, you are whole, and you are miraculous. Bye.
Absolutely.